That morning, Emily Carter, 35, an elementary school teacher, stayed home with a mild cold. She put on a baseball cap, wore a gray hoodie, and walked to the familiar bakery at the end of her street to buy some light snacks while waiting in line. She noticed a young man in a worn military uniform silently standing at the counter, his hand trembling as he counted out coins, one by one. The saleswoman showed visible irritation. "The store doesn't accept dirty money like this. If you don't have enough, get out." The young soldier said nothing, just lowered his head. On his mud-stained shoulder was a fresh stitch, mark his combat boots worn at the heels. Emily didn't think twice. She simply stepped forward and placed an additional $3 on the counter. "Give him the bread and add a bottle of water." She didn't wait for it. Thanks didn't ask his name, just watched him nod slightly before turning away. The clerk muttered, "Getting involved with these strange people."
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
when it's over, they forget who they are. Emily paid no mind. She walked home feeling lighter than she had all day. As she passed the town square, she noticed how people hurried by, eyes glued to phones, never seeing each other. The soldier had been invisible to everyone but her. Perhaps she thought that was the real sickness in their community, not her mild cold, but this collective blindness.
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
are the small kindnesses no one notices. She wondered about the young soldier. Was he stationed nearby? Was he just passing through? She'd never know, and that was fine. Some connection didn't need names or histories, just a moment of shared humanity in a world that moved too fast to notice that night. Will she mention the incident in her journal, writing, "Simply help someone today cost $3."
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go.
And long waiting lists for mental health services. Emily turned it off. The disconnect between how soldiers were praised in speeches and treated in reality had always bothered her ever since her father's struggles. After coming home, she made herself a cup of tea and looked out her kitchen window at the quiet street. Nothing extraordinary had happened today. She thought, just
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
just because they were silent, right? Disrespected. If you believe a small gesture can earn a nation's recognition, stay with us, because what happens next will make you stand up. That evening, Emily sat on her sofa reading when she heard a distant rumbling, like heavy engines rolling over asphalt. She assumed it was garbage trucks or night construction, but the vibrations grew stronger.
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
armored vehicles were parked less than 20 meters from her house. A squad of soldiers in full uniform was forming a line across her front yard. Neighbors began peering out their windows. Some fearfully took photos, others live-streamed the scene. An officer stepped forward and knocked gently on her door. Emily opened it with trembling hands. "Miss Emily Carter, yes."
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
The exact person who needed to see it. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Evans requests to meet you immediately. Before she could ask anything, behind the officer stood the young soldier from this morning, now at attention, his cap held against his chest. He spoke softly, "Save me again, first on the front line, and now in my faith in humanity."
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
Toward the door, neighbors watched wide-eyed from windows and porches. Some had their phones raised, recording. A few whispered among themselves, "Is she in trouble?" Someone asked, "What could a school teacher have done?" Another wondered aloud. The military convoy created a surreal contrast against her quiet suburban street. Christmas lights still hung.
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
Lead vehicle. Emily sat across from the young soldier, who now looked more composed, though still reserved.
"I'm Thomas," he finally said.
"Thomas Evans, Emily," she replied, though he already knew. "Are you going to tell me what this is about?" Thomas looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. "My father will explain everything, but
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me,
wasn't an accident."
but these feels, they come and
Emily's confusion grew. Not for you, Thomas clarified, for me to see if I could function in public again, after Afghanistan. The vehicle made its way through town, drawing stares from pedestrians. Some saluted, others simply watched in awe. I failed that test, Thomas continued, until you stepped in. Emily shook her head. All I did was buy bread. Thomas said firmly.
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go.
Happening, without the vehicle even slowing down, whatever was happening, carried significant authority.
Oh,
My father is waiting, Thomas said, as the vehicle came to a stop. He's been waiting for me to speak again for 6 months. The base was brilliantly. Even at this late hour, personnel moving with purpose. Despite the time, Emily had never
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go.
Military police stood at attention. As their convoy passed, Thomas noticed her nervousness.
Don't worry, he said. They're honoring you, not detaining you.
Emily tried to process what was happening, but why all this for buying someone bread? Thomas's answer was simple and devastating. Because when you helped me, you didn't just buy bread.
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go.
Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Evans, Thomas's father, currently a national military advisor, approached, took her hand and said, "Your action today may seem small, but it helped me find my reason to continue serving." He explained his son, Thomas, had been suffering from severe PTSD since returning from Afghanistan for 6 months. He hadn't
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go.
But no one welcomed him. Without Emily's gesture, Thomas had planned to leave the base permanently. That night, the Department of Defense decided to award Emily with the Civilian Moral Honor Distinction, a national recognition for citizens whose small acts profoundly impact officers undergoing psychological treatment. Her speech was brief, just one sentence.
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go.
In the early hours of the following morning, with a framed certificate of honor and an invitation to collaborate as a consultant for a psychological recovery program for soldiers, the media picked up the story by dawn. Local news vans parked outside her modest home, reporters eager to interview the teacher and restore the soldiers' faith. Emily declined most interviews, but agreed.
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go.
They don't need our pity, they need our normality at school. That Monday, her students had questions. Why were there tanks? Was she a secret agent? Did she know the president? Emily smiled. I just helped someone who needed it, the same way I'd help any of you. One child raised her hand. My dad was a soldier. He came back different.
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go.
Sometimes they just need someone to find them again.
Lieutenant Colonel Evans appeared on
National television that evening, not to discuss military strategy or foreign policy, but to talk about his son. The stoic military man's voice broke as he explained, "We develop protocols for physical injuries. We can evacuate a wounded soldier from battlefield to operate."
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go.
Basic human dignity. Back at Fort Campbell, Thomas entered a therapy room for the first time, voluntarily. When asked what changed, he said simply, "Someone showed me that civilians can still see soldiers as people, not just uniforms or problems." The military's Health Services Division launched a new program that week, Bread and Dignity, designed to gradually
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go.
Note from the bakery clerk, who had been rude to Thomas. "I'm sorry, my brother never came back from Iraq. It's been easier to push soldiers away than to see them and remember him. I'm working on it." The Secretary of Defense himself called Emily the following week, not for publicity, but to ask her to consult on veteran reintegration programs.
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they
funds and funding hadn't addressed the bridge between clinical treatment and everyday human connection. Thomas began speaking at military bases around the country, his voice growing stronger with each telling of his story. He always began the same way.
Oh, I was saved twice.
Once by combat medics in Kandahar, and once by a school teacher.
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
Sharing their own experiences of alienation and reconnection, and before each deployment, debriefing was added to soldiers' preparation. Remember the bread story. Come back, knowing civilians are waiting to welcome you, not just thank you. Have you ever witnessed a small act of kindness change someone's entire fate? Leave a single dot below.
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
The street, those who once looked away now smiled and nodded. She received a handwritten letter from Thomas's mother.
I don't know who
Who taught you to be this way, but thank you for saving my son. In a way that medicine couldn't. She pinned the letter to her refrigerator, next to photos of her students, and then without any warning, that Saturday morning, her classroom fell silent.
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
Partner at the school, Emily said nothing. She simply placed her hand over her heart, the way soldiers greet each other, and smiled. The children gathered around Thomas as he carefully unfolded a flag, explaining each triangle, fold and its meaning. His voice was quiet but steady, a voice finding its strength again. This fold is for honor, he explained.
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
Class, Thomas lingered. I start therapy twice a week now, he said, not meeting her eyes. Dad says I might be able to teach history someday, when I'm ready to leave service. You'd be good at that, Emily replied. You've lived it. Thomas finally looked up. Why did you help me that day? You didn't know who I was.
Emily thought about it.
Maybe.
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
Sometimes that's all we need to be, just people. The following month, Emily found a small package in her school mailbox. Inside was a combat medal in a glass case, and a note. This was for bravery, under fire. You showed me a different kind of bravery. It belongs with you now. She didn't display the medal at home or school. Instead, she kept it in her purse. A tan-
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
The register reading veterans welcomed with respect. We remember your service. The clerk, who had been rude to Thomas, now wore a pin with a yellow ribbon. Emily bought her usual coffee and bagel, saying nothing about the sign. Some changes didn't need acknowledgement. They simply needed to happen. The town itself seemed different. Somehow veterans were
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
community life. A reporter later asked Emily if she was proud of starting a movement. I didn't start anything, she said. I just reminded people of something we already knew, but had forgotten. This world doesn't need more, it needs more compassion. A small action at the right time for the right person can save us. In despair, you don't always know who you're helping, but if you help
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
to say we still see kind people. If you believe quiet, kind people deserve recognition, subscribe to our channel, because here we tell stories the world has been silent about for too long. Incredible stories, because some heroes never stop serving. No small change, and then go somewhere else, you freak. The store attendant yelled. The young soldier stood frozen, still clutching.
messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go. And
Was, but at midnight, tanks suddenly rolled in front of her residence. Why?